What's going on, everyone? It is Rocky in real time, and I'm back at you with another video. First and foremost, I'd like to say sorry if there's a little bit of ambient noise in the background. Carnival season is going on, so there's a little bit of noise where I am because I live very close to it. But I want to talk about something today that I get a lot of questions about, either in my private mail or my Instagram DMs or just under the comments of my videos. So I said, why not make a video about it and just provide that value at scale so people can just watch this video and understand some of the nuances in this particular question that I get. And if you don't know me, and this is one of your first times on my videos, my name is Rocky. I'm an expat. I've been living in Brazil for 3 years, and I make content for expats and aspiring digital nomads who want to move abroad and live a sustainable life while they're there. Now, I want to talk today about how much money you should save before you move abroad. Now, there's no one size fits all answer because a lot of that is going to depend on several factors. You need to take into consideration a lot of things, including the country that you're moving to, so your target country, where your expenses are going to be, what type of lifestyle you want to live, and other things like your income and all these other things that matter in the context of this conversation. So the first thing that you definitely want to consider is what type of expenses you have already and that will remain constant regardless of where you're located. Like if you're a gym enthusiast or you just really like your health and you want to maintain your health, then the gym expense is going to be something that you spend on regardless of your location. If you like to be entertained and you can't live without your streaming services or your music streaming services like Spotify or Apple, or your movie services like Netflix or Disney Plus, those are expenses that you have to count in as well. Then you have other things that you might have as expenses like your student loans, your credit cards, and other things as well. For me, there's expenses that I incurred by moving abroad, which is like a storage unit. So you have to take that into consideration as well. If you have stuff that you can't take with you, you might need to store that. So you're gonna have to get a storage unit. So those are things that you need to think about. You need to think about your expenses that are going to remain constant, or expenses that you're going to incur by moving abroad, such as in the case of my storage unit, which is something that a lot of people need or have to do when they move abroad. Now, as far as expenses go, you need to include travel expenses in there as well, because when you're moving to a new country and you've already selected the country, or maybe you're just trying to see if this is a country that is a viable option for you, you need to spend some time there. So I recommend that you spend at least 6 months there and figure out all the ins and outs that you need to make the initial move. You're not going to learn everything in that time, but you're going to see what you like, what you don't like, and you're also going to see all your blind spots as well. Now, to get a feel for what type of expenses you're going to spend money on when you reach your target country, you need to use sites like Numibo, which compares the cost of living from one city in one part of the world to another city. So any two cities that you like, most likely a city that you want to move to in another country is there. Join threads or subreddits that are catered to life in your particular country, mainly like the Digital Nomad subreddits, or maybe some of the subreddits for expats in that country. You also want to join Facebook groups and see what people are saying, see what people have questions about. A lot of the questions that you might have been already answered in these subreddits, in these Facebook groups, or you can go right here on YouTube and watch vlogs of people who are in your target country already and see what they have to say about their expenses, about their lifestyle, and the things that they do to maintain that lifestyle and how much all of that costs. Then, and only then, can you gain more insight about what your monthly expenses might cost. Now, you can do all the research in the world, but nothing is gonna ever beat actually living in the country. But it's good to research first so you have a general idea, so that when you do go and spend that 6 months in another country, you can see how much your expectations or your research matches with reality. Sometimes you might have an expense that you thought you might spend money on, but when you actually get to your country, your target country that is, you see that you might not spend that much money on it, and you have some other expense that you didn't think about that you have to factor into your cost as well. And like I said, you can only figure that out through extensive research as well as on-the-ground reconnaissance that you do when you reach your target country. Something very crucial that a lot of people fail to realize, or I don't see any other content creators mention about this whole topic of moving abroad and how much it's going to cost you, is the actual professionals in accounting or maybe financial advisors that you have to employ or sort of consult before you move abroad. Before you move abroad, you definitely want to make sure that you're tax compliant.
Taxman's coming. I don't know when, but I got to be ready.
Whether you're working for some company remotely or you have your own business and you operate out of some, office in the United States already, you want to make sure you remain tax compliant before you leave. So talk to an accountant or some sort of tax professional that can help you outline what you would need to pay and how to structure your taxes while you live abroad. Trust me, it's going to save you a lot of headache later. I also recommend getting a financial advisor and meet with them a few times a year, maybe once every quarter, so that you can iron out your financial goals and they can help you and guide you to reach these goals. Because the truth is, you're gonna be living in the global south or maybe Eastern Europe or some country that is a lot less expensive than United States or Canada or Europe, wherever you're from. And you're gonna be saving thousands every month. Now that you're saving this extra income, you need to have that income work for you. So you work smarter and not harder. The best way to do that is to stack investments. Now, I'm not a professional, so I'm not gonna tell you what I've invested in or what you should invest in. That's something that you should talk to a financial advisor about, and they can steer you in the right direction that you need to go to reach your individual financial goals. The next thing you're gonna have to consider is a type of lifestyle that you're gonna live while you're in your new country. Are you gonna have an apartment in the city center or it's gonna be outside of the city center? The apartment that you do rent, is it gonna be in an older building with a few amenities, or is it gonna be in a newer building with a lot of luxury amenities? Are you gonna go yachting? Are you gonna go fine dining? Are you gonna take adult swim classes, pottery lessons? Are you going to go on tours? Are you going to travel a lot? These are lifestyle expenses that you might increase while you live abroad because you have that extra income left over every month. And then you're gonna have to factor this into how much you need to save to move abroad, because when you move abroad, again, you're gonna wanna live at a certain lifestyle while you're there. So this has to be incorporated into the expense and the amount of money that you need to save, because you're gonna be doing these things monthly, sometimes weekly, sometimes even daily. So it just depends all on you and all on what type of activities you want to incorporate into your new lifestyle abroad. What's going on, expats and aspiring digital nomads? If you want to learn how to build a profitable and sustainable online business that allows you to travel, be flexible, and be super mobile, and you want to learn things like picking a niche, AI marketing, SEO, affiliate marketing, content marketing, sales funnels, and so much more, then click the link in the description of this video and get my PDF, the online business blueprint for expats and digital nomads. And the best thing about it, it is 100% completely free. So click the link in the description now. Some things you're gonna elect to do for fun and other things you're gonna elect to do for comfort. So figure that out and factor that into your overall cost and expenses that you're going to have when you move abroad. So now that you figured out what your lifestyle expenses and your normal expenses are gonna be while you live abroad, now you can factor that into how much you need to save and put away each month. So as a general rule of thumb, you should have nothing less than 18 months worth of savings with you before you travel abroad. Now, the exact amount on how much that is going to be highly dependent on which country you move to and what your expenses are going to be. But you should have at least a year and a half worth of expenses to cover you should you lose your remote job or should things be slow with your online business. So for instance, I've looked at the analytics on my page and about 94% of you are males between the ages of 25 and 44. So let's just say you're a 30-year-old male and you move abroad and all of your expenses total to about $950 every month. To calculate how much you would actually need to move abroad, you'd multiply that amount by 18, which is a year and a half that you should have saved up. So that's gonna total to about $17,100. And that's a little bit under what you would need to get the digital nomad visa here in Brazil, they recommend that you have at least $18,000 in savings, or you can prove that you make at least $1,800 a month online. Finally, I'd like to say that this is all going to vary on how much you've actually saved and how much you actually make every month. Now let's just say you have $5,000 saved and you've been consistently making about $4,000 a month for a year. You're definitely qualified to get a digital nomad visa here in Brazil. And as long as you have that consistent income, you might not need that $18,000 in full. It's just a nice little cushion that you should have for yourself if you do want to move abroad. Also, when you move to a country in the global south or Eastern Europe, or just a less expensive country than the one you're in, if you're coming from a Western country and you're making thousands of euros or dollars a month and your monthly expenses are less than $1,000 a month, you're gonna have a huge gap between your expenses and your income. So you're gonna be saving thousands a month.
Woo! More money, more money! Ah!
So that $18,000 or so that you should have saved, or that's a requirement for Brazil at least, I can't really speak of any other countries, but if you're making thousands of dollars a month online, you only have $5,000 in savings, then yeah, you can move abroad because your income and your saving is enough to sustain you and meets the general requirements for a lot of countries in terms of getting certain types of visas like the digital nomad visa. So factor in everything that you need to have in place before you move abroad, including your expenses at home and the expenses that you might incur while you're abroad, and save accordingly. Also take into consideration that you're gonna spend a lot of money on paperwork, furniture, travel expenses, and a whole bunch of other things that are associated with moving. Moving is not cheap, and it doesn't matter that you're moving to a less expensive country, you're still going to spend money on certain things that are associated with your move. And not to mention, certain things might be more expensive than they are in your home country because of lack of access or whatever reason that there might be for that thing being more expensive. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Don't forget that you're gonna have a lot of miscellaneous and random expenses that are gonna pop up that are gonna be associated with your move.
It's expensive.
And that's almost inevitable. So you want to leave a little cushion for those types of things as well. Maybe a few $1,000s for unexpected expenses that just might happen while you move. So if you're wondering, I had about $13,000 saved before I moved here to Brazil, but I also made online income which was well above $1,800 a month. So it was quite easy for me to get the digital nomad visa. All in all, if you do your research and you plan and have an action-based step-by-step approach as to how you're going to plan your expenses, how you're going to plan your finances and your savings, you follow all the other rules associated with this, mainly have 18 months worth of expenses in your new country, in your target country, have that tucked away before you move, you should be fine. So in conclusion, do your research, plan your expenses and your savings, take a trip and stay in your target country for about 6 months and see how your research actually compares to actually living there and whether the expenses line up with your research. Then come back and move to your target country with all your documents and all the necessary things that you need to complete a move with at least 18 months worth of expenses in your new country. That's what I recommend. And that's what's going to give you the most success when you move abroad. Anyway, this is Rocky in Real Time, and thanks for watching. I'm out.